Hi, Phil Aston here from Now Spinning Magazine. It's that time of the year when I do my rundown of my top albums and top box sets of the year. As usual, I'm going to split them into two camps. One is going to be new releases, and the other one is going to be box sets and reissues. I've really tried to do a top 10. A top 5 was never going to work. I tried to think about doing them just in all one big clump, just releases for 2024. But I've decided to think of new releases and reissues and box sets as two separate camps. Last year I did 50. Yes, I did a top 50. And I had to split it into small videos. So I don't want to do that this year. I want to just do two videos, one for the new albums and one for the box sets and reissues. So obviously I'm not going to do a top 50 for each of those. So I've cut it right down to 35. Okay. And obviously in the kind of 25 to 35 range, there's a bit of movement around there. And why it's become 35 is I ended up with things bubbling under the 25, over the 25 rather. So I just extended it. And even when I've done this, and some of you can say, well, that must be number 35. It is. But I do want to mention one album that should be in here. But I just didn't want to move it all around again. And it's because compiling this, you know what it's like as a collector. You know, there's records everywhere, isn't there? And you say, oh, that one. And I've chosen them based on how they've made me feel, not just what the music's like, but the enjoyment I got out of them and how it's made me feel in the world of 2024, how it's motivated me, and just how I've had them on in the car, in the house, just how the music has affected me. So actually, Kigu Horse. If you just wait a minute, I just want to mention this, which is Terry Wilson Selica, Backstreet Crawler. This is a new album, and I'm hoping to talk to Terry in the new year. I ran out of time in 2024. Paul Kossoff is all over this, although not personally, because he's long passed, as you know. But this is a heartfelt album with the Backstreet Crawler band. It's a simple affair with a little gatefold sleeve, but Terry is in fine form, and Rabbit is also on here as well. If you're a fan of Free, Bad Company, and Paul Kossoff especially, Backstreet Crawler, it's well worth listening to. Technically, that was number 36, wasn't it? Number 35 is Kigu Horse, who probably have the most exposure here because they've been on my stand while I've been chuntering on. This album is the first album I'd ever heard by this band, which was Charcoal Grace. There is a review on the channel and on the website for this. It's really kind of modern prog, and I'm not going to go over it again now. It's already been there for ages. But this is a great band, and this is my first exposure to them. So well worth a listen. Next, I've got a list in front of me, but the chances of me staying in tune with the numbers is slim. Next at number 34 is more prog, and this was Wheel, again a band from Finland, I think it was, and another band that before this I've heard nothing by them. I really, really liked it. It's really heavy. Again, more prog. It's interesting as I go through this list, the kind of genres of music that are kind of in it. Because when the year started, I wasn't thinking prog much at all, but there's quite a lot in my list. So this is Charismatic Leaders by Wheel. Great album, and it's one of those albums that you need to listen to several times, not to get into it, but it's a lot of these songs from a lot of kind of modern prog bands it's like a tapestry of sound and different dynamics, but it takes time for it to kind of, for the earworm elements of it to sink into your head. Well, it is for me. Next is also prog, but a band that's been around from when I was a wee lad, Focus, and this is Focus 12. I was very lucky to talk to Thijs van Leer earlier in the year, and this is a really fantastic album if you love Hammond organ, but the great guitar playing as well, but wonderful. Focus 12 is at number 33 in my chart. The next one is full-on thunderous symphonic heavy metal, and it is Whom Gods Destroy and Insanium. I love this band and I love this album. I think it's like a project band. I don't think that there's any, there's no gigs arranged or anything. Some really big names on it. But if you want something that's really thunderous and dynamic, if you're into Sons of Apollo, stuff like that, this absolutely superb stuff. Next is Captain of the Lost Waves. You'll just see loads and loads of 10 out of 10 reviews for this. And again, it's seen as prog. I would say it's more ambient than that. It's a very different, it's a kind of tangerine dreamy Vangelis type of music, but wonderful vocals from the Captain. Lyrically, it's like English literature. It's just wonderful. There's an interview with the Captain coming out early 2025. So that's next there. Who else? Pindar. Oops, I'm going to have to reach down and find that now. Pindar, A Sparkle of the Dark Water. Again, a different kind of, a bit like Portishead, who I like. It's that kind of electronica. It's on the Fruits de Mer record label. So to me, there is a kind of ambient prog-esque kind of element to it. But it's hard to define, really. I did do a separate video on this. And quite a few of you went off to explore the sounds of this album, really liked it. But I just love the artwork. I just love the whole aspect of it. So that's there. And now I've just got to go and find the CD that fell on the floor. Bear with me. Right, here we go. Number 29, Bon Jovi, Forever. I thought this was an absolute return to form. I loved it. I gave a really in-depth review. There is some saccharine kind of cheesy lyrical stuff when he's singing about his wife, but if I was singing about my wife, I'd be the same. But there's some wonderful, great rock songs. It really is a return to form. The guy's had his own battles to go through, but I think it's a great album. So Bon Jovi fans, if you missed out on that, then really do give it a listen. So that was number 29. I just want to say at this point, if anyone wants to go off and get some snacks, pour yourself a beer or a pot of tea, then that's absolutely fine, because when you come back, I'll still be here. Right, so we are at number 28 in my top 35 new albums of 2024. Is this prog? This is Mandoki Soulmates, A Memory of Our Future. I spoke to Leslie Mandoki, a great guy. What a story. It kind of goes out under prog. It'll be in Prog magazine. What isn't? But it's soul. It's jazz. It's fusion. It's rock. It has a song called Devil's Encyclopedia, Social Media. Social Media is the Devil's Encyclopedia. It's like a real earworm track. But, I mean, Aldi Mola's on here, Tony Carey, Ian Anderson. It's just brilliant. This band are huge in Europe. But over here in America, most people are watching this going, he keeps mentioning this band, doesn't he? Listen to that. It's great stuff. So that was at number 28. And at number 27 is Lepos. Oh God, this is good. It's more prog, but what a voice the singer in this band's got. This is the CD and instrumental version and the Blu-ray version, and it's absolutely superb album. And this is Melodies of Atonement. There's a full review of this band on the Now Spinning website and on the YouTube channel as well. But the main draw for me for this was the guy's vocals, because the range is just huge, and it's not about the solos. This is really intense progressive rock, but absolutely brilliant band. And again, the first album I've heard by them. Next is Warren Haynes and A Million Voices Whisper, featuring Derek Trucks as well. Some fine southern rock, very Tedeschi Drucks in its execution. Wonderful vocals and performance by Warren. Great guitar playing, great slide playing by Derek Trucks, obviously. And it's kind of gentle. It's the spirit of the Allman Brothers is alive and well, but it's a kind of trajectory that Warren Haynes has been on for a while now, even with Government Mule. But this is a fine album, and it sits at number 26 in my chart. Next, which is slid out of the way. Oh God. This isn't going to go well, is it? Just out of shot of the camera is a whole pile of stuff that's teetering on the edge. So if there's a loud bang in a minute, that's what's going on. So next is David Gilmore and Looking Strange. Not everyone liked this when it first came out. Did you? And when I did my review, some people said that's brave. I didn't think it was brave. I felt maybe because of where I am in my life, what's going on around me, I found it lyrically very profound, very moving, very deep, very reflective. And I felt that the vocals and the guitar playing was exceptional. And if you haven't heard it, give it a listen, give it a chance. And I know a lot of you, it's interesting, as the comments kind of poured in under that video, more and more people said, yeah, Phil, I know what you mean. But yeah, it's wonderful. Great album. That's David Gilmore and Looking Strange. Right, next is... What's next? Where am I? Some jazz. Well, jazz rock. Jazz fusion. The reason why I'm saying that is that Adam Holzman, who I interviewed about this record, did say that jazz fusion means a fusion of could be anything, whereas obviously this is jazz rock. I would say it is jazz. It's jazz. And of course, I mean, look at the lineup, man. Nick Beggs, whose sense of humour and Englishness is all over it, and Craig Blundell as well. It's a double album, and it's marvellous stuff. Really great jazz rock. It's great to see jazz rock in the chart, isn't it? But if this is an album you missed out on, because I haven't seen it in many other lists, then give it a listen. It's absolutely fantastic. It's on the K-Scope label. Right, so that was number 24, Trifecta and the New Normal. My next one is someone else I interviewed as well. This is Pure Reason, Revolution and Coming Up to Consciousness. There's a lot of reflective stuff on this, and I think when I spoke to John, I said this is a really, really deep and dark album. And he agreed, and it's about obviously the death of the dog in his life, and the importance of that, and how life can be dark, and it's looking for the hope within it. But it's also very interesting that this is another band that's seen as like the new wave of prog, but it goes across several genres, and I think in a way calling it progressive rock might set up walls for them breaking out into the mainstream perhaps, but they're a great band, and they're playing in Cornwall next year as well at the Lou Festival, I believe, so I'm going to try and go along to that. But that is well worth a listen. So that is Pure Reason Revolution, who've come in at number 23 in my chart. Where are we now? I might need to put my glasses on, because as I was making this list, my writing got smaller and smaller. We are... Devin. This is good. Power Nerd. Devin Townsend. I think there's only one track, Ruby Quaker, at the very end of side 2, where, to me, it drops the ball a bit. But up to that point, I love Devin's vocals. I love the energy. I love the anger. I love the exasperation in the music. Absolutely superb. I love Knuckle Dragger. I love every single track, and this This album sent me right through his back catalogue. I was lucky again to talk to Devin this year, which was an amazing experience. And you must check out his book as well, which is a collection of great haircuts. That's not what it's called. It's what I've called it. But Power Nerd by Devin Townsend is sitting at, where is it? Number 21. Next is, I'm going to have to cross these off actually because this isn't working. The next one is more prog, sort of, or electronica. This is very different. This is Tim Bonus, and I love No Man. I love Stephen Wilson. This is Tim Bonus completely on his own, although Steve Wilson helped with the mixing. And some of the tracks are tiny, like 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, and in the blurb it said it was like they were like fragments, observations of life. And I spoke to Tim for over an hour. One of my favourite interviews of the year. But it has all that kind of chaotic, heavy metal, industrial sound stuff, and then the most gentle, those reflective No Man ballads where you feel like you're walking through treacle because they can either bring you down or bring you up. But yeah, superb. That is Tim Bonin and Powder Dry, which works really well, doesn't it? Because that's Powder and Power Nerd, very closely linked. Right, after that, crossing that off my list so I know where I am, is, oh yes it is, it's Black Country Communion and 5. I bet some of you thought this would be higher up the list. In a way I did, because this was there's some really good reflective bluesy rock stuff, and there's some stuff that reflects down to Paul Kossoff and the way that Joe Bonamassa plays, and Glenn Hughes is in fine form, Derek Shrinian of course on keyboards, understated. You want to listen to the what did I have further back? Whom Gods Destroy, if you want some more in-your-face Derek Shrinian. But yeah, Black Country Communion, I think it's one of their best albums. But as the years progressed, I haven't been playing it as much as it started to. So as I've put this chart together, some of it is based on the trajectory of the music that I've been introduced to over the year and how much it's been in and out of my CD drive or on turntable. So that's Black Country Communion at number 20. Right, at number 19 is more prog. This is so much prog. And someone else I spoke to, Jordan Rudess from Dream Theater. Although technically it's a solo album, it's very much a band album. And it's absolutely fantastic. It really is like Dream Theater, but there's also some fantastic songs on here as well. And that Joe Payne on vocals, what a guy, what a vocalist, and how he had to do vocal gymnastics to weave his way around Jordan's daughter's lyrics to fit in with some of these really complex progressive rock tracks. It's a great album, lots of light and shade, lots of different things on it, and certainly I'm one of those people who've got everything that Dream Theater have ever done, every offshoot, every solo album, but I would say that this is Jordan's finest album. Next is, as I move up to number 18, is more prog. Gosh. Beardfish. And this is Songs for Beating Hearts. Again, the first time I've ever heard this band. I absolutely love this, and I did do a separate review on this, and it was hard to describe individual tracks because it's a feeling, it's a kind of experience, and I have played this more and more since I've had it. I love the male and female vocals, I love the Hammond organ, I love the pastoral progginess of it, where there's lots to explore. I love music where I can put it on. Yes, sometimes I'll be honest, I am doing other things, but it makes the room nice. It just gives a nice warm glow to where I am. I just absolutely love this album. Beardfish, highly recommended. And that is sitting at number 18. Right, what is at number 17? I could get lost here if I don't watch it. Right, number 17 is Frost. And this is, I can't remember the title, Live in the Wires. Again, it's the first album I've ever heard by Frost, even though I spoke to Andy Edwards, who used to be the drummer in this band, with, was it Million Town, one of their first albums. So this is my first exposure to them. And this is great. And I know lots of people in the Now Spinning Magazine Facebook group have also bought this. But yeah, this is just an absolutely, I'm just looking down at my notes to see where I am. Number 17. This is a great piece of progressive rock. There's been some great music this year. And I think what's really been exciting is how many times I've said, this is the first time I've heard this band. This is the first time I've heard this band. Some of these bands have been going for years. But it's been great to listen to so much new music, because I love listening to what I grew up with. I love listening to what I discovered in the 80s, 90s and noughties and all that stuff. But my sense of wonder and excitement is discovering new things, you know. If I could only do that when I go for a curry, so I don't have chicken gel fries every single time. Anyway, so music, that was Frost. Life in the Wires, double album, fantastic. Where are we now? Oh, we are at Opeth. Now, I have a feeling that this would have been higher up if it had come out earlier in the year, because I'm still absorbing it. I think it's one of their finest albums. And it's interesting when I mention this in my playlist, The Last Will and Testament, because the growly vocals, the Cookie Monster vocals are back. And I know a lot of people went, can't be doing with that, don't like it, don't do death metal. I think I just see it as an extra instrument, an extra texture, an extra character in the storytelling. I don't have a problem with it. My son, Dan, my oldest son, was really death metal, still is. And a lot of it, I just, my sugar and stuff, I struggled with it so much I couldn't go there. It sounded like someone vacuuming upstairs, and you were always downstairs and you couldn't quite work out what's going on. That's probably not very fair, is it? But I then discovered Opeth and Still Life and all this stuff. And of course, Damnation is the doorway into Opeth. And the last few albums haven't done that with vocalizing in that direction. But it really works. And yeah, it's dark, symphonic, but it's exciting. Opeth. Fantastic. And you know what? The next one is related to that in a death metal kind of way. Another band that's becoming one of my favourites. Look at that logo. Imagine that on a T-shirt. Simon, if you're watching, imagine carving that onto a piece of wood. This is Blood Incantation, and it is Absolute Elsewhere. Again, a band that uses the growly aspect of their instrumentation, vocal, in a way that makes it sound like just part of the soundscape. But this is music that crosses through Pink Floyd, Tangerine Dream, Camel, but also intense, really crunching, blood-curdling heavy metal as well. It's fantastic. And what's the other great thing about this was when I featured it, is how many of you went off to listen to, because you'd never heard of them, and you came back saying, wow, I've gone and bought that. Because this is very different. And, my wife is a classically trained violinist, listens to lots of classical music. She listened to this. She said, God, this is brilliant. It's, if you think the phrase death metal is like, not for you, listen to Blood Incantation, because you'll be amazed on the journey it will take you on. It will take you to places you didn't know your ears wanted to go. Right, where am I? That was number 15. Number 14. Oh, this is a great band. I've got all their albums now, I think. I think there might be the first one I've got to get. Gaslight by Son of Man. Son of Man. Man, the band. From Wales, Dee Leonard. This is Son of Man. They're connected to Man. But this is a much more British, hard rock, uplifting experience. These guys need to go out with Cats in Space on tour. I think they just clean up Wonderful music, fantastic musicianship. If you're looking for new rock music that makes you feel great inside, that has depth to it, great lyrically, great musically, Son of Man, Gaslight, it's highly recommended. Really fantastic record. So that sits at number 14 in my chart. At number 13 is Ian Hunter, and thank you very much, Clive, for getting this for me from Germany when it was so difficult to find the double album for Record Store Day, and this is what this version is. I've been an Ian Hunter fan since Mott the Hoople, and this Defiance Part 2 sits really nicely next to Defiance Part 1 from previous year, because there's so many artists on it. There's so many, Jeff Beck plays on this as well, his last ever performance. He's such a great lyricist, wonderful songs, very reflective. One of the UK's finest songwriters of all time, Ian Hunter, Defiance. At number 12 now, gosh, we're nearly in the top 10, is another guy that I spoke to this year, Andy Tillison from The Tangent. And this is To Follow Polaris. This is prog again. And Tea at Betty's Simulation, the bonus track, is my favourite track. Hi, Andy. I know it was just sat there. It's not on, you can't stream that track. It's on the vinyl. 17 minutes long, where it goes from 1950s jazz to full-on heavy metal prog. Andy plays everything. He is the Tangent on this. North Sky, Like in the Darkness, and of course the Acronism, 21 minutes long, is one of the finest prog tracks of 2024. This is a superb album. I do know the Tangent. I've got quite a bit of stuff by them. If you don't know the Tangent, then give this a listen. Oh, what an album. Superb. It's interesting going through these like this, because as I'm going through them, in the back of my mind, which I'm not verbalizing to everyone watching this, is I'm thinking, well, yeah, I think I'll play that after I've done this, before I do any editing, I'll go and play that. But that has really come home as I hold this one up. That was a Tangent, To Follow Polaris. At number 11 is Anam Cara by Adam Wakeman. He just said Adam Wakeman, didn't he? It's Oliver Wakeman. Just can't get the staff. Oliver Wakeman, Anam Cara. Great album. Anyway, let's give him another chance. One of Rick's sons. This is a beautiful record. It's got everything on it. It's kind of like Celtic rock, ambient, prog, pop. The songwriting is just sublime, and the fact that each little song could be a little mini drama, I think I remember saying in the review, and I've spoke to Oliver a couple of times. Marble Arch. Go and stream Marble Arch and come back and tell me what you think. The Queen's Lament, Lonely, Golden Sun in Grey. It really is a fantastic record, and without doubt, Oliver's finest album so far. But the vocals, I'm going to mention, because I can't always remember everyone who plays on these things. So I'm going to mention this if I can. Hayley Griffiths' voice, she is just amazing. Give that a listen. Absolutely brilliant. And that is at number 11. So what's at number 10? I'm in the top 10 now of my top albums of 2024. And this band deserves to be here. This has only just arrived, so am I being fair? Well, I was given an advance copy on CD, so I knew what to expect. But I didn't expect it to be as good as it is. What do you mean? Well, it's completely amazed me. Sendelica, Requiem for Mankind. I love Sendelica, as you know. I've spoken to Pete Bingham, the mastermind behind the band, twice. But this is on another level. there's a separate review going out for this, because otherwise I'm going to end up repeating myself. But this is different. This is like a track that's like Great Gig in the Sky by Pink Floyd, with the vocal, female vocals, which is by Callie on vocals, which is a track called Requiem for the Planet. It's fantastic, but Pete Bingham's guitar playing, his solos, it's different. Oh, this is 4 sides of absolutely fantastic prog again. Wow, there's so much prog. It's the year of prog, isn't it? Although it will twist a little bit as we head towards the top of the top 10. But this is superb. If you've heard Selica and you think, oh, I don't know, this one will absolutely blow down the whatever your feelings are about this music. You will just think, wow. Selica, Requiem for Mankind, Fruits of the Mere Records again, one of the best labels out there. Right, now we're rocking. As we get to number 9 in my top 10, top 35 rather. This was a revelation. The next one, because I'll admit, I had a chance to interview Andy Scott from The Sweet. And I thought, well, yeah, I'd love to talk with Andy Scott. I'm a great fan of The Sweet, Burn on the Flame, one of my favourite tracks. I love the fact that they were a rock band hiding in plain sight. And so I was given an advance stream to listen to this, and I thought, The Sweet, I just got it in my head about where they were in the 70s and all the rest of it. And then I heard this. And it just completely knocked me over. Circus, Destination Hanover. Its roots are in the 80s, but not in the kind of cliche lyrics and, hair metal type 80s rock. It's plugged into that, but it's plugged into The Sweet. And also it features the previous vocalist from the Cats in Space. So vocally and musically, there's a kind of pull towards this kind of really uplifting commercial powerhouse anthemic chorus based rock music, all song orientated, all professionally done. No song is on there because they needed another track to stick on there. Every single song deserves to be on this. There isn't one bad track on it. It's an experience of great Friday night rock music for all ages that will just make you bounce around the room. One of the best rock albums of the whole year. Well, obviously it's in my top 10, but listen to that. It's quite hard to find. I hope you can all track one down. It took me ages to get hold of this. But it's fantastic. Paul Manzi on lead vocals is superb. The songwriting is incredible. If this had come out any other time, it would have been one of the best rock albums of that period. It is absolutely stunning. The Sweet, Full Circle, are at number 9. Right, at number 8 is The Circus and the Night Whale by Steve Hackett, who I've spoken to loads. It's a wonder I haven't gone round for tea with him and his missus. But this is one of his finest albums of his career. It's very autobiographical, but absolutely superb record. And I have played this a lot as the year has progressed. It was Mandolina. I just wanted to mention her for her vocals and everything, but it's the journey, and it's the theatrical visual storytelling that comes with the music as you sit and listen to it. Steve Hackett, Circus and the Night Whale. And that is at number 9. Number 7. Nearly there. If you need to go and just top up your pot of tea or get another beer, you've got time. Someone else I've spoken to. Neil Morse and the Resonance, No Hill for the Climber. Oh, wow. It's more prog, isn't it? The last one was prog. Just prog central, this list this time, isn't it? Eternity in Your Eyes. What a track. No Hill for the Climber. Ever Interceding, which is kind of very much like, to me, Transatlantic's We All Need Some Light. This is a very spiritual, uplifting album. It's very positive. It makes me feel great. I think it's one of his finest albums. Neil Morse is very prolific. There's tons of stuff to explore. But I, as soon as I heard this, I liked it. Now, sometimes when I hear something and I like it immediately, that can have the effect that it wears off. It becomes predictable. I know it too well. This isn't going to happen with this, because there's so many layers and so many things that each time you listen to it, other things kind of pop up, because it's, in-depth, long compositions. But musically and lyrically and vocally, instrumentally, it's just absolutely fantastic, and certainly I think one of his finest albums. I love Neil Morse, but this has really kind of shone a light to me on his songwriting and him as a person, and he was a wonderful person to talk to as well. So that is Neil Morse and The Reasoning, No Hill for a Climber. Next is rock music. And when I reviewed this, I said that this should be seen. Fire in the Night by Cats in Space, double live album. I said very enthusiastically that this should be seen as one of the great double live rock albums of all time, with all the other things that, for those of us of a certain age who grew up with, we have this thing, the best live albums of the 70s or whatever. You need to expand this now, because this is just epic to me. It's not a surprise that I'm a huge Cats in Space fan, from the way I talk about them, perhaps. But it isn't because they live next door and I've kind of like been mates all my life or whatever. I mean, it was how this band came in front of me was members of the Now Spinning magazine Facebook group saying, "Philip, what have you listened to Cats in Space? Listen to Cats in Space. I'm sure you'll love them. You should cover them on the channel." I was going, Cats in Space? What kind of a name's that for a band? Cats in Space? Is it serious band? And then I listened to some stuff, and then I realised. And so this is a great live album, but it reads like, King of Stars, Teenage Millionaires, Goodbye to American Dream, Kickstart the Sun. Oh, one of the best rock songs of all time, which I've said when I reviewed Kickstart the Sun. Hero, A Million Miles, 51 Pillow Bed, Poke the Witch, Bootleg Bandoleros, Too Many Gods, Time Bomb, Marionettes, Atlantis, Johnny Rocket, Thunder of the Night, The Mad Hatter's Tea Party, Hologram Man. I fell out of love with rock and roll. Watch that video of the band doing that. They'll always end with the set with that track. It is so incredible. It's so what it's like to be a musician now and rock music now. I mean, it is so positive. This is so uplifting. This is the kind of music that I just get so excited about. I can get so jaded. I've heard those chord sequences. I've heard that before. I know where this is going lyrically. Key change. But with Cats in Space, I don't. And I just love the songwriting. They are such a great band. Cats in Space, double live album, Fire in the Night. There's a separate review where I'm probably even more over the top in that than I am here now. But certainly one of my favourite live doubles, and it is definitely deserves to be at number 6 in my top 35 albums of 2024. Sitting at number 5 is Deep Purple and number 1. Some of you might be thinking, number 5? Surely that was going to be number 1 for number 1. It is a great album. There's a massive review on this on the channel, so I'm not going to repeat myself now. But Simon McBride is musically more blues probably related than Steve Morse. I love the Steve Morse period of Deep Purple. I love everything that Deep Purple do. Is there a bad Deep Purple album? No, there are some that are better than others, but there are no bad Deep Purple albums, okay? And this is a great Deep Purple album. I think Ian Gillan sounds wonderful. They all sound completely comfy, but they're still pushing themselves. They're still edgy. It's a great addition to the back catalogue. Simon McBride is a brilliant player, and he's absolutely rejuvenated the whole band. Absolutely fantastic. Deep Purple are at number 5 with number 1, if that makes sense. At number 4 is more prog. And it's Big Train, the likes of us. I have heard Big Train before, but I think that this, and I've got a lot of the back catalogue, and I know this is a new beginning with a new singer because of what happened before. So the band were going through, a very difficult period. But I love this. I love everything about this. I love the design. I love the print. But I just absolutely love this album. It's another album that's full of hope. It's reflective. It took me back to being a kid, my friends at school, different aspects of my life. It's Oblivion is a wonderful track, but there isn't a bad track on it. And I know lots of you bought this. And if you don't know Big Train, you could start here. It's a wonderful record. And it's another one that's made me think, maybe it's the one I play after I've finished doing this. There are just 3 left in my top 35 albums of 2024. Just 3. And the next one is heavy metal. Oh, wow. Judas Priest. Invincible Shield. I gushed over this, didn't I, when it came out? Gave it an absolutely raving review. In fact, it inspired me to do my top 26 ranking album video for Judas Priest, I think. And it was number 1, wasn't it? And then a lot of people said, Phil, how can you put that as number 1? It's only because it's just come out. You're just overexcited. Although a lot of people also agreed that it should be right up there at the very top. So how do I feel now? Do I still agree with that? Do I? Or have I changed my mind? If I did a ranking video now, Judas Priest, where would this be? It would be in exactly the same spot as I put it in then. I still think this is a phenomenal record. I know behind the scenes, who's played on what and whatever. All I know is that this is just incredible. There isn't, Panic Attack. I mean, when I first heard that, Devil in Disguise, A Crown of Thorns, Escape from Reality. Heavy metal album of the year, if I was going to separate into genres. But for Judas Priest to be producing something of this level at where they are in their lives and the kind of struggles they've been through, because they've had real health issues, going through the band, and they managed to create this, with everything going on around them, and the way that that's such a hard-working band, incredible. Judas Priest, Invincible Shield, are sitting at number 3. At number 2 is Mogg's Motel. Another person I was very lucky to talk to this year was Phil Mogg. He was a great guy. But this is such a great rock album. Apple Pie, Sunny Side of Heaven, Face of an Angel, Princess Bride. I love as I said in my separate review, I love the female vocals. I love the kind of Bob Seger-esque elements of it. I love the more rock and roll feel in the guitars and the playing, etc. Tony Newton on bass, Neil Carter on keyboards, Tommy Gentry on guitars, Joe Lazarus on drums. And Phil Mogg's voice, his storytelling, his vocals, his lyrics. I've said so many times, but he's one of our most underrated vocalists. But this is one of the best things he's ever done. It's not. Am I comparing it to UFO? It's a different band, but I could. It's another joyous, fantastic purchase. buying this, and it's worth every penny. You know, and the reason why it's at number 2 and Judas Priest is number 3 is because I've played this more than Priest. I think I love the more earthy kind of rock and rolly aspect of it. I love the kind of more observational lyrical stories. You know, Phil Mogg's kind of bringing in like bits of film noir and his favourite films, Princess Bride and Shane, you know, the westerns and stuff. I just love Phil Mogg's storytelling. And so that is at number 2. So what could possibly be number 1 out of 35 great albums of 2024? Well, it's the only band that's in the chart twice. And it is Time Machine by Cats in Space. This was an instant hit for me. Again, I've spoken to Greg a couple of times, and I've never seen them personally live. I live all the way down in the toe end of Cornwall, as far away as from civilization and live gigs as you can possibly be. But I just feel that this band are kind of like so connected to where I am now. So all of these choices are personal. And as I said at the very beginning, it's the way that the music makes me feel. I've also got this on. I bought this on. Have I got it near me? I probably haven't. I bought this on CD as well for the extra tracks, because they do a version of music, which is incredible. They do my favourite Slade song as well, and No Regrets as well. Their background in music, Greg Hart's background, all the influences, they're just, to me, an incredible band. And there are things on here. There are tracks on here that have just been the highlight of my year. Damien Edwards has got to be one of the UK's most amazing vocalists at this point in time. But Greg Hart is fantastic. Stevie Bacon on drums. The drum sound on this album, absolutely made. Dean Howard on guitars, Andy Stewart piano and orchestra, I should say, and Jeff Brown on Jeff Brown's bass playing. Another band that uses female vocals, which I absolutely love. But Run for Your Life, Occam's Razor, My Father's Eyes. It's so moving. Again, they're so in tune with their audience, and not just people of where I am demographically, but young people as well. They write music where the words are really deep and reflective, where you can really tune into them, and the music supports that and taps into how you feel emotionally. You know, it's not just rocking down the highway. This is I'm Crushing Down, Time Machine, Velvet Rush. It's a crossover track if ever there was one. Immortal when Love Collides. It's just amazing. Cats in Space. 2 positions in my top 35 album charts. At number 6 with the live album, and at number 1 with Time Machine. I just knew. I got all the other stuff around me. But as I said at the very start, I was going to pick records that made me feel good inside. You know, that something that was the complete antidote to the news, something that was going to make that when I turned the engine on in the car and I put some music on, it was going to keep me within the speed limit, everybody, but I was going to feel good, no matter if it was raining and cold outside. Cats in Space are on. You know, and then I get up in the morning, I've got stuff to do, and, you know, Cats in Space. I'm going to put the Cats in Space album on Time Machine. That'll be the one. And, you know, and it came out when it was the anniversary of my dad passing, and I put on My Father's Eyes, and it was a different perspective on it. And it's good. Music is the healer and the doctor. And the Cats in Space embody that to me. Whatever's going on in your life, put on the Cats. And you realise as you get to know this band that what a great name. What a great name, and all the branding that goes with it. It's like a movement. It's a community of like-minded people, a bit like our spinning magazine, I guess. But they're just so into what they do. And seeing the joy of other members of Now Spinning Magazine as they discover this band and just love what they do. But if you want something, maybe you've got someone in the house that says, "Don't do rock music, me." Put this on, and they will, because it transcends rock music, because the choruses, the verses could be choruses actually. Yeah. It just sounds great. It's Friday night, and every morning when you listen to the Cats. So that is my top 35 albums, new albums from 2024. Next in this video series, for those of you who can stay awake, will be my top 35, might not be as high as that, box sets and reissues of 2024. But thank you, all of you, for staying the course, for being here, for your support, for all the kind things you've said and been around me this year across the Now Spinning Magazine multiverse even, and for buying merch, becoming patrons and YouTube members so you can join the Facebook group and the private WhatsApp group, and also be invited to the 2 virtual meetups we have each month. And of course you get to see all these videos first as well. So thank you so much, everybody. Remember, music is the healer and the doctor. Take care, all of you. Have a great time, keep spinning those discs, and I'll see you all very, very soon.